Justin, are you ready to die?
Yeah, let's die.
Let's die together, like it was always meant to be. We're playing Grim Fandango Remastered, the remastered version of Grim
This looks
Fandango.
like garbage.
Well, there's a good reason for that, buddy. It's because this game is a billion years old. But what if we could, through technology or magic, sex it up?
That would require some blood sugar sex magic, I think.
Yeah, or just some Double Fine magic.
My, look at that ambient occlusion.
Look at the occlusion. Look at the bloom lighting. Look at
juicy
the
bloom.
Look at the mega textures.
The juiciest textures.
This is the remastered setting of the game. You can play it either way. If you want that classic jagged ass version
Busted, broken down
of Grim Fandango, you can have that, or you can have the still a little bit jagged.
Like, you could have the visceral thrill of Crash Bandicoot level Polygon.
Oh no, it's better than that. You know it. I'm gonna play with this whole bunch. Grim Fandango. I'll be honest, I never finished Grim Fandango when I was a kid because it spooked me out a little bit, especially the world of the living, which to this day I still think is one of the scariest things ever in a game.
It's very spooky.
Very, very spooky. Don't really care for it at all. Kind of seems like a murderer made it, or perhaps a group of murderers.
A whole murderer team.
Yeah, I'm saving my game because this game does not autosave.
Yeah. I was kidding about the Polygon. It's actually kind of a weirdly cool aesthetic. Like it's like super smooth, low poly is kind of neat. I think it looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm into it. I switched between the two a couple times in the video, especially when my boy Glottis rolls up, just because I feel like his character model.
That's when it hit me the war. Like when you look at Glottis, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough, I think.
But I mean, he's a giant, it's a giant face. It's hard to get a lot of quality up on there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Grim Fandango, because what's interesting is all of the remastery that has gone into it. And you have finished the game. You reviewed the game.
Yeah.
You played it on Vita, right?
I did. Yeah.
I'm playing it on PC. All of the remastery that has gone into it has been entirely sort of aesthetic. Well, almost entirely aesthetic.
Largely aesthetic.
So like,
and even that is light. It's a light touch. It's a real, it's funny. A lot of times in video games, we use remastering, I think in a way in which it was not intended. Like this really does feel like a remaster in the sense that you would see it in like an album, where just like, it has been overall sort of smoothed out, but it's still inherently the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, some of the mechanics are the control scheme is a little bit different, a little bit I would say user friendly,
usable.
Yeah,
it's a little bit usable now.
It makes just navigation and solving some of the puzzles a little bit easier. But they still didn't get an autosave in there, which is a big bummer because game crashed on me. It has crashed on me. I've only played it for maybe an hour or so. This is the very beginning of the game. I think that the crashing is actually the reason there isn't an autosave. I got into a situation in the game where I lost a bunch of progress because I had quick saved after I had done something that made the game incompletable. Yeah, right, exactly. So I've hit one of those. I opened a door that stayed open, and then I couldn't go through it. This is one of my very favorite things about Grim Fandango. I feel like it's one of the more revolutionary things about it, where your inventory is in your jacket. This is how you look at your stuff and how you solve puzzles with items. I mean, there are some things that Grim Fandango kind of spearheaded when it first came out. It was one of it was sort of the beginning of the end, or perhaps the end of the end of the adventure game decline, because it didn't sell especially well, but I don't know, it did so many neat things like clues or objects that you can interact with that will help you solve stuff. You don't get a helpful little text bubble above it saying hey, get this thing, or it's not highlighted in any sort of interface way, but Manny just looks at it. It's a really subtle effect that's super cool and kind of ahead of its time, I think.
And kind of a big pain in the ass a lot of the time. The point and click really helps with that. I played largely without the point and click because I was on Vita.
Yeah.
So you can tap to interact on Vita, but you can't do the nice little cursor sweep that you're doing
yeah, I didn't
right
even
now.
think about that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you put it that way, I can't imagine playing it without the cursor, because the cursor does sort of change whenever.
And
you
that's how
scroll.
it was, originally, and that's how it is on the Vita. I haven't been able to get the PS4 version to download yet, so I don't know if how that works.
I don't know. I mean, ostensibly, I could use the touchpad, I guess. I don't know. We're talking out of our ass right now.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that the game doesn't really change in this remastered version is that, like, the puzzles are like, man, they are some classic adventure game ass puzzles. Like, I hear later on in the video, I don't know if actually we'll have time to get to it, but you solve a puzzle by coming to this guy and getting these balloons and filling those balloons up with special foam, and you have to do it with 2 different kinds of foam, and then you have to, like, put it in your like tube, and you're off it. Like, it is some crazy stuff that is
absolutely inscrutable.
And it's, like, not something that is, like, especially hinted at very well, occasionally, like, not at all. And I think it harkens back to, I mean, it is what it is, right? It harkens back to a time where that was just sort of the norm. It was sort of expected that you would just spend
that was how you padded out playtime back then, right? Like, people bought a game and they would want to make it last, so rather than put in a bunch more game, like, you could just get stuck on Grim Fandango for 3 days.
Right.
And that bumps it way up.
Right. Instead of him having one line of dialogue saying, hey, I bet some of that foam would come in handy. If only I had some sort of stretchy solution for storing them. No, you don't get any of that. And that's fine. Like, I feel like there are a lot of people who want that, because I feel like a lot of adventure games that come out nowadays are way more linear. If you look at, like, the Telltale games, or, just... I feel like those Telltale games don't even have those sorts of puzzles for them.
No, yeah, and I completely get that. I just wish that the thing about Grim Fandango that's like, when you're in the phase where it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to, like, experiment and kind of goof around and see if I can figure something out. Like, it takes so long to get from A to B. It makes that kind of thing like a big pain in the butt. Like, you realize once you're at the tubes that, oh, you needed 2 balloons. So you got to run all the way back to the balloon guy and then run to the thing where you make the solution. And, like, I just wish it was a little bit easier to get around there in this game. I think it'll make experimentation
you
a
can
lot
also
more fun.
There's also a lot of instances where you can, like, solve like chain of puzzles and then, like, screw up on the last one and then have to repeat them. Like, whenever you do the foam stuff, there's a guy you have to talk to and a lock you have to unlock, and if you forget to unlock the lock, like, back to square one. I mean, that stuff is really punishing, because I feel like games back then were punishing. And if that's your jam, like, God knows this game has its legion of fans, because something we haven't talked about is, like, the setting and characters are phenomenal. Like, it's unlike anything really ever made, I think, in any medium. Where, like, yeah, it borrows a lot of Nori tropes, but the whole idea of you being a sort of travel agent for the dead, like, I don't know, its whole interpretation of the afterworld is so spectacular, and I feel like that's sort of why it has stood the test of time, and makes it kind of confusing as to why it didn't really, become a blockbuster when it first launched. But maybe this is its chance. Maybe this is it.
Maybe.
Anyway, this is Grim Fandango Remastered. Glottis, you old card. I dig it. I feel like maybe I'm gonna do my best to get through it to make up for. We are about to get to the land of the living, and I'll be reminded why I backed out of the game in the first place. But maybe this will be my year. Where
it's interesting. As somebody who's coming to it fresh.
You never played it?
No, I'd never played it. It's less sort of laugh out loud funny than you would expect from, like, Tim Schafer's previous stuff. Like, I don't think it's as irreverent. It definitely has, like, a style and tone, but, like, I don't think it's quite as I guess silly, for lack of a better term, as a lot of his stuff.
No, it's definitely a different direction, and it's kind of an epic, right? Like, it stretches across several years.
Oh, I hate it.
God
please.
damn.
Oh, mama, no.
It's all so rough.
It's the worst.
Yeah, it's this sprawling epic that takes place over the course of a few years.
I think they do this to make the land of the dead not seem creepy. Like, you just want to get back there. Just let me out of the land of the living,
to
please.
The comfort of the afterlife, where everybody is skeletons. Give me skeletons over whatever that dude on the right is. That policeman on the right, I would rather a skeleton eat me than look at him for another second. So let's not look at him for another second. This is Grim Fandango Remastered. It's out now on PC, PS4, Vita, Mac, and Linux. I think that's it. And yeah, go check it out if you miss this style of game, or if you want to be have just sort of the shit scared out of you forever by horrible magazine-faced monster people.
Rest, that's it.
Ay, ay, ay.